the iconic heart of industrial Glasgow. A bold venue to chart a new course for the world that could determine the future of mankind. High stakes in the closing hours. Nations and campaigners in the giant COP centre.
Please bring the currency of compromise to your discussions, and I know that if we do so, we will all reap the benefits. Otherwise, we are going to be literally out of time.
And a plea from the UK's COP president, who's trying to corral nearly 200 countries, rich and poor, behind more ambitious plans to tackle climate change. So, a brief appearance in the open over there for Alok Sharma. Said it's a long way to go. Heard big challenges from NGOs. After that, it's back behind closed doors. And a different feel behind the scenes. Lots more of the offices down here, but up the stairs there, what's that? That's the UK, they're the host. That's where the main meetings are taking place, behind closed doors, with a bit of a Harry Potter theme. No dark wizards here, but all delegates agree on the top goal to keep alive the aim of holding average global temperature rises no higher than 1.5 degrees. Widespread consensus on the means, halving global carbon emissions by 2030. But two core sticking points. Will there be a clear declaration that fossil fuels have had their day? And will the big polluters agree to deliver tough new climate targets by next year? Brilliant. And so the negotiators roved round from public spaces to the back rooms. Yeah. Vice President Timmermans, Nick Watt, BBC Newsnight, can I ask how
hopeful... to see you in person for once. I always see you on the screen.
24 hours to go, your hopes?
Well, still a tremendous amount of work to do, but it's not impossible.
Do you think 1.5 is still going to be alive at the end of this COP?
It has to be. It really has to be. So we need to double our efforts to make sure we can say with credibility at the end of the COP, 1.5 is still alive.
But I mean, we hear that we're maybe at 2.4, 2.7, we're still a very long way off.
Yes, we are, but we can still achieve something this week. And then I agree with the COP president that we should have a declaration saying that we will get there next year. So within 1 year, we need to be on the 1.5.
Not a formal negotiator, and a mixed assessment of those in the hot seat.
There's lots of work to be done, and there needs to be political leadership and determination over today and tomorrow, and if necessary into the weekend. That should be led obviously by the COP presidency, the UK government. I know Alok Sharma is working really hard. I've said I think the Prime Minister should come back here if necessary and spend every minute trying to push a deal over the line. I've, for 2 weeks, tried to do everything possible to help, although I'm not around the negotiating table, and I will continue to do that for every minute that remains of this summit.
And a warning from the climate front line of the urgent need for action.
It's vital for island states. We need to build resilience. We're experiencing and already living through the impact of climate change, and for us it's a question of survival. We cannot wait another 20 years. We have islands that might not survive in 10 years if we don't have immediate action, and that's what we're looking for, immediate action and concrete language on the text that are being negotiated today.
From closer to home, a warning.
2 degrees is really dangerous. You know, hundreds of millions, perhaps billions, are under serious threat from extreme heat. Storms, floods, droughts, sea level rise. No, these things are intensely dangerous. And at 2 degrees, we're going to see still more of it. We're only on 1.1 now, well, I say only, and that's dangerous enough. So we really have to drive down from 2 degrees. Driving down 2 degrees is an achievement of the last 7 or 8 years, and we should recognise that.
Clydeside, once the home of red political radicalism, will it now be the home of a new settlement for humanity?
Joining me now, Conservative MP Catherine Fletcher, who's Parliamentary Private Secretary to the COP26 President, Alok Sharma. Good evening, thank you for joining us tonight. The UN Secretary-General has said that 1.5 degrees as a goal is on life support. We've got less than 24 hours till COP26 ends. What's the state of play?
Hiya. So you can see here, if you look behind me, we're very much at the pointy end of what's been 2 weeks of really kind of intense negotiations. I think it's in a good spirit. I think there's lots of constructive dialogue going on. But, you know, there are a series of open texts. So the UK presidency now holds the pen, so to speak. My boss, Alok Sharma, is doing his shepherd-in-chief role, and we're going to sit and, you know, you'll see the shuttle diplomacy going on behind me as we speak.
Is it going to be an all-nighter?
I think so. I'm certainly off back to Alok's office after we're done.
No, because I'm just trying to get a sense of why there isn't more detail with less than 24 hours to go on, for instance, halving carbon emissions by 2030, the financing of this for poorer countries.
No, fair enough. So when we came into the presidency, there was like 4 key aims that the UK was convening. So, sorry, I can hear myself coming back. So there's 4 key aims. There's mitigation, adaptation, climate finance and finalising the Paris rulebook. And we've made really great progress. And the mitigation is keeping the 1.5 alive. And, you know, we're still encouraging people to come forward, be much more ambitious in their commitments. But the stuff that's almost unheralded is the stuff that unlocks the questions that you're asking. And that's finalising the Paris rulebook. That's like technical, it's super complicated. Imagine like 23 box files of double-sized A4 with really technical details in it, spreadsheets in it, and this whole process of drafting text, he's trying to bring that to common ground with 200 different countries. That was never going to be easy. And some of this stuff's been outstanding since COP21, since Paris. You know, it's a really difficult challenge that we've set ourselves to bring the world together. But I say what I said at the start, it is in a good spirit. You know, people are working constructively together. The process has been smoother than it has been in previous COPs. The agendas were agreed quickly. So we're really moving forward.
It was just in my colleague Nick Watt's report there, and it's been reported this afternoon. And it was in the Times newspaper around this specifically. Saudi Arabia, Russia and India, it's being reported, are calling for the ambition to phase out fossil fuel subsidies to be dropped from the document. What's your understanding on that?
So the key to mitigation, the idea of keeping 1.5 alive, stopping catastrophic global warming. Just as a reminder, before Paris we were at 6. We came down to 4, we're now nearly at 2, and we need that final heave of bringing countries together to do it. But there's 2 key differences. The mid-century net zero commitments, but also the increased ambition in the 2030s. So what President Biden was calling the decisive decade. Now the mechanisms to do that are important, but driving kind of NDCs forward and being more enthusiastic about that is what we're calling on everybody to do. You'll forgive me if I don't comment on individual countries, given we're really at the pointy end of negotiations, and I'm a very small cog in this enormous wheel, and I wouldn't want to do anything to prejudice it.
Yeah, I understand that sort of chair role, but you're our window into this, and the British public, we're hosting this, wants an understanding of who potentially isn't coming to the table. Maybe it'll help with your negotiations if you say them on Newsnight.
Well, I don't know. I think it's really important that your viewers, the British public, understand that the UK has no negotiating teams here. We're pulling all out the stops to create a presidency which is kind of communal, convivial, that allows people to be candid with each other and allows them to come together to consensus across 200 countries. I think what's been interesting and powerful and is helping that move along is the idea that every country has an equal seat at the table. So we've heard some really interesting stories from climate vulnerable countries, you know, the passion and the energy with which they make their case about the seriousness of this cause. And then you hear from a country that's perhaps historically or currently been part of producing fossil fuels on a large scale. And these 2 parties have to look each other in the eye and come to a conclusion which saves, you know, let's face it, the only one we've got, our one planet. So my window into it is actually things are happening. We're seeing it. It's all coming together.
I know, I just think
those final technical details are really difficult.
Yes, and it's going to the wire. I just think people want to know, because this matters so much to so many people, what are the blocks or who are the blocks? Just a word on that role as chair with regards to the climate this is happening in, if you like, the political climate. A couple of things on that. Do you think we can be taken seriously as an honest broker, the UK, committed to change with regards to the climate? When, for instance, I can give you several other examples, but let's just pick one. The Chancellor has just cut air passenger duty on domestic flights, making it even cheaper to fly and the train less appealing, less affordable.
What we've seen, there's two aspects to that. The Paris Agreement allows for a transition. It is not a kind of go along the line, suddenly stop doing everything. We need to transition our economies away and do it step by step in a sensible and pragmatic way. But also there's been this huge event around. So I attended the Jet Zero event where we're looking at electric planes for those shorter hop journeys, looking at sustainable aviation fuel. And actually that's one of the key themes of this COP is the technological innovation that the UK and others are bringing that allows us to have confidence and allows us to encourage others to have confidence to make ambitious commitments to save the climate,
but my question,
you know, on things like air passenger or cars.
I understand that. Sorry, if I can, just very short for time, but my question was also about us as a broker and the trust on that. And yesterday, the Prime Minister made an unusual statement to the world's media at COP26, feeling the need to say, unprompted, that the UK is not a corrupt country. This, of course, against a backdrop of allegations of Conservative sleaze and MPs on your benches having the highest number of second jobs. How embarrassing has that political climate been while we've been the host to world leaders?
Do you know what I want to do is almost take a big sigh in. So I'm a member of the 2019 intake. I share an office with one of the members of the Standards Committee, and focusing in on individual issues really generates a feeling in the British public that we're all the same, and I cannot emphasise enough how that's not the case, and we're demonstrating that here. My boss, Alok Sharma, no drama Sharma, is working literally night and day to try and convene people to bring the planet together. And I think that is genuinely the focus of what people are doing here. And if you check my standards record, it's fantastically boring, and that's true for so many of the other MPs. The thing that we need to get right here is adaptation finance, finalising the Paris rulebook to make sure that we're comparing bananas of carbon with bananas of carbon, making sure that we've got clear routes and processes to help the world to have confidence to move forward.
Catherine, I'm so sorry, we're going to have to leave it there, but we look forward to the details of that final text. Only going off words of the Prime Minister there taking our lead from what he had to say at COP26. Catherine Fletcher, thank you.